Hey everyone, we're going to take a look at Ji-Kun, the 6th boss in the Throne of Thunder. Ji-Kun is a single-phase fight that takes place on two different levels simultaneously. Ji-Kun resides on her platform, where she uses several abilities against your raid throughout the fight. In addition to this, there are 5 nests located below her platform, and in each nest there are 4 eggs, hostile NPCs with relatively low health. Shortly after the start of the fight, and roughly every 3 minutes after that, 3 of the 5 nests will activate one after the other. When a nest activates, this is indicated by a white beam of light shining on it, the eggs located on it begin to hatch over 10 seconds, and a few of your raid members will need to go down there and kill the eggs. If the eggs are not killed before they hatch, they turn into Adds, which must then be killed in a given time limit before their power grows further. Once the 3 nests have been taken care of, the raid members that went down there can return to Ji-Kun's platform until another hatching of eggs begins. Let's get into the specifics. Ji-Kun spends the entire fight on her platform, which you can see here. She uses several abilities throughout the fight. Ji-Kun uses 2 abilities that force a tank switch. Talon Rake deals damage to the tank and stacks a debuff which increases damage taken from subsequent Talon Rakes for 1 minute. Infected Talons is a stacking dot. Quills is a raid-wide damaging attack that lasts for 10 seconds. It damages all players, even those who are not on Ji-Kun's platform at the time. The boss casts this ability roughly every minute. Downdraft is a spell that Ji-Kun channels for 8 seconds, which pushes players away from her and towards the edges of the platform. To avoid being pushed back, players need to run towards Ji-Kun, and it appears that jumping forward also helps. This ability is cast more rarely than Quills, seemingly about every 2 minutes. Caw is a nuke that Ji-Kun casts at the location of random players, which deals pretty high damage in an 8-yard radius. This just requires that the raid be spread out. Now, let's talk a bit about the adds. As we said, a short while after the fight starts, the eggs in one nest begin to hatch. In our experience, the eggs in the southeastern nest always hatched first, but this is not a certainty. Several DPS players and a healer will need to jump down onto this nest and engage the eggs. It seems that ranged DPS players can attack the eggs from Ji-Kun's platform, but we imagine that this is not intended. You can only send a maximum of 4 players down to the nests because each egg or resulting hatchling drops a feather, which allows the player who picks it up to fly to the other nests and to Ji-Kun's platform. Since there are only 4 eggs per nest, only 4 players can use feathers. Each feather grants players an extra action button with 4 charges, and each charge grants the player the ability to fly for 8 seconds. Flying is required to move from nest to nest and from nest back up to Ji-Kun, but to get down to the first nest from Ji-Kun's platform, all you need to do is run or jump down. Again, as we said, you have 10 seconds to kill the eggs. If any eggs are still alive after 10 seconds, they each hatch into an add called a hatchling. These adds do not have a lot of health, and all they do is deal relatively low damage to their target through an ability called Cheap. Shortly after spawning, the hatchlings will ask Ji-Kun for food, and in turn she will throw food at them through a spell called Feed Young. Once a hatchling has food next to them, it is only a matter of time before they turn into a different kind of add called a fledgling. The fledglings have considerably more health than the hatchlings, and they also deal considerably more damage. Your raid's goal is to make sure that no fledglings have time to appear on any nest, since if they do get to appear, it will almost certainly lead to a wipe. After dealing with the first nest, your players will need to move on to the nest that activates next. You will need to deal with the second and third nests in the same way as with the first one. After the third nest is done, nothing happens anywhere other than on Ji-Kun's platform for a good while, so these players should go back up there and attack the boss until another nest activates. Ji-Kun regularly casts Feed Young throughout the fight. As we mentioned earlier, when there are hatchlings asking for food, she targets them with this ability. However, when no adds are alive, Ji-Kun throws the food on her own platform in the form of green balls of slime that fall from the sky in random locations on the platform. When they land, they form damaging void zones called feed pools. A feed pool disappears if a player stands in it for 3 seconds. However, feed pools can be prevented from spawning altogether if the balls of slime are intercepted on their way to the ground. If a player intercepts a ball in this way, they take nature damage every 5 seconds for 30 seconds and also take increased damage from further interceptions for the same amount of time. However, in addition to these negative effects, the respective player also gains 30% 20% increased damage and healing for 30 seconds. There is one other mechanic of the fight, one which we did not get to experience very much. Apparently, certain eggs called mature eggs exist on a level located somewhere above Ji-Kun's platform. The eggs occasionally hatch into adds called juveniles, which fly around the room above the raid and throw down void zones. We suspect that it is possible to fly up to these eggs and kill them before the juveniles spawn, but we found it relatively easy to just have the ranged DPS kill the juveniles once they're up. With these mechanics in mind, the fight is rather repetitive. The designated players jump down to the nest where the eggs begin to hatch, kill them and move on to the next two nests, then return to Ji-Kun's platform. The players on the platform perform their minimal tasks dealing with Ji-Kun's rather basic abilities. We are certain that there are ways to optimize a strategy for this encounter, especially the way to deal with the eggs. We're going to release a written guide for this boss when patch 5.2 goes live, and a proper video guide based on live realm footage shortly after, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe if you want to be notified of new videos.